This is Rogue Wing, Coraline, or Helen RD over at Starship Modeler. Welcome to the workshop. Alright, slowly but surely, and things are slowly speeding up, but slowly but surely, work progresses on the Solaria. At this point, I have taken the flight pod bays and adjusted my auxiliary struts so they'll fit in the bay, and gone ahead and glued the struts into place. The reason I'm doing it this way is because I've already had to run the wires down into the end of the arms, and the only way I'm going to get all of this together in the ship is to go ahead and have these in place here. That, and it'll make filling the flight pods easier. Mostly because I won't have as much to fill. Got both pods done at this point. Going to let the glue set up a bit before I go in and attempt to fill the pods. Still debating how I'm going to tackle that. Right now, probably a combination of resin and Aves epoxy sculpt, but that's where we're sitting. Okay, while I debate how to fill the flight pod bays, decided to take care of one other detail I can before I start truly working main assembly. That's completion of the battle head. As you can see, I've gone in and with super glue put in the time slip creation gun turrets and glued the bottom piece onto the head. Ironically, though in the kit instructions this is one of the first things you put on, it's actually going to be one of the last things to actually get attached to the ship because of the way I've got to work with the pods. But she's pretty much ready at this point. Okay, starting to get there. Actually, more like starting to see the finish line here. I've gone ahead and installed the rear engines into the bottom plate, as well as the top engines into the upper plate of the hull. I've also installed the LEDs that will light the rear engine panel. The filling of the, I don't know how well this is going to show up. The filling of the flight pods is started. Rather than try to fill the whole area with Aves, I started by filling it with some 2-part resin. I'll go ahead and fill the rest of the pod bays with Aves. Which in some cases will take less filling than others. But once I get those filled, it'll be time to seriously look at what is essentially going to be final assembly minus a couple of the guns. Alright, a little more progress. I've gone in on both flight pods and filled in the open areas of the pod with Aves epoxy sculpt. Shows up better from this angle. Where I could get at it with the texture stamp, I've put in the added plating. But I've done my best to go ahead and smooth those out. Now, give me just a second to pop the camera free here. This one I've gone ahead and hooked up to power, mostly so I can hopefully show you what we got going on inside here. Personally, I am really liking the effect of the red LEDs inside the pod. Gonna wait for the eggs to cure now. But once that's cured up, which will probably be tomorrow, I'll see about getting main assembly finished. Okay, we've moved into the, for lack of a better term, lab to show the final connections inside the Solaria. What we got here, this lovely bundle of mess of solder, is actually tying all of the positive leads. This one is tying all the negative leads. Got two jumper wires coming back here to the engines. At this point I've gone ahead and connected the head in, because the next step from here, once I close off these connections, is going to be to put the main body together and actually get the majority of main construction done. But while we're here, come over here to power that's temporarily hooked up. As you can see, we have power to the engines. That one's not quite as bright. I have a feeling I may have lost a lead in there. Have to check my connections again. It's the other reason I'm doing this. And judging by the red showing up there, both flight pods are still lit, as is the head. I'll see what I can do about fixing that engine, and then we'll go from there. Quick addendum. As you can see, that light is actually lit, albeit not very bright, which means I've likely got to adjust my connections a little. But everything else is lit. You can make out just a bit of light leak there on one of the struts, and I don't know how well it's picking up in the light. There's also some over here on the other side. But as I said, I'll touch those up and we'll button her up. Alright. Will likely be the final update for this run. But a pretty good update it is. At this point, basic assembly of the Solaria herself is done. I still need to go in, put in the guns on the top and bottom of the main hull. I also need to put in the photo etch nameplates. The base is essentially how it's going to look. Obviously it's going to get a coat of paint. I'll move the camera down so we can get a little better look. The actual main part of the base is a piece of packing material that came with something my mother picked up. And then of course there's the kit base, which will wind up acting as kind of a dedication plaque for it. But at this point, we're roughly how she's going to look when I actually get her done. I'm just happy at how she's turned out so far. I've got to mask off the engine thrusters and the launch bay openings before I can do any kind of painting. Mostly because I don't want to lose the decals in the launch bay or the lights on the engines. But at this point, we are definitely in the home stretch. I can honestly say now, she looks like a Battlestar.